Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am Ashley. I'm a homeschooling mom with 7 kiddos, ranging from 12 down to 10 months. I wanted to do a video today on something that I don't see too frequently on YouTube amongst all of the homeschool channels and homeschooling videos. I have, like I said, my oldest is 12, and so he is going into 7th grade. And I feel like the higher you get into homeschooling, the less videos there are. I think a lot of people probably feel like, okay, well, they're in middle school, they're in high school, they're self-sufficient. You know, you don't need to plan a whole lot of stuff. There's so many different curriculum options. That they can do on their own. They don't need you for anything really. And that's furthest from the truth as far as they don't need you at all. I feel like my cat's tail is always in here now. I feel like most of the videos that show up on YouTube and show up on these channels are geared towards the younger grades, the preschool, elementary, even up to 5th grade, but not even so much that old. And I feel like there's not enough in regards to middle school. Now, when I pulled my 2 older ones from public school, they were in 3rd grade and kindergarten. They had just finished those grades. So I knew, oddly enough, going into, when this first started coming to my mind, this homeschooling life, that I did not want my kids to be in public middle school. If anything, I was torn because of the elementary years. I am not concerned about things that they will miss in higher grades, but I knew that I did not want my kids in public middle school. Now, with this being said, all of these videos that I record and that I talk about are my opinions. They are my personal beliefs, for lack of a better word, and my experience and what I have gone through thus far in homeschooling and having a couple of my kids be in public school. So I wanted to do a video kind of as an encouragement, because I'm almost positive there is someone out there that is looking for a video like this, that is going back and forth, especially in this crazy time where people, and I see this all the time, and I think this is what prompted me to kind of do this video, on Facebook groups, on ISD, school, public school Facebook groups, people that are so torn between, do I send my kid back? And COVID aside, pretending like COVID is, that's not a reason. Let's just say, hypothetically, that these people really were thinking about homeschooling before, and this just kind of gave them a little push with all that happened this last year. But I feel like there are a lot of people that are really just torn. And do I pull my kid out? Do I keep them home? Do they, what are my options? And they have such a small time frame to decide these huge decisions. For me, I started thinking about this probably a year before I even did it. And now people are kind of frantically like, do I do it? Is this the right time? Is this, a crazy rash decision? So I want to just kind of sit down and talk about homeschooling middle school for a minute. I have 1 year of experience with this, and that's it. I can tell you though, that if I was in public school, if my kids were in public school, and my kid was going from 5th to 6th grade, I would not be okay emotionally. I feel like I did not have, thankfully, a huge transition to make. It was like, hey, we're graduating 5th grade, we're going into 6th grade. Awesome, this is fun, this is great. For him, I feel like that was such a weight lifted off my shoulders. I am a very emotional person when it comes to my kids getting older, my kids reaching certain milestones, knowing that, this is it. You can't go back in time. You're watching something happen that will never happen again. And the thought to me of sending him to a public middle school was just not okay. It was not okay from the beginning. And I feel like that is one of the first thoughts that came to my head in regards to homeschooling when I decided to actually do it, was middle school. It wasn't even the now, because the now at that time was 3rd grade. And 3rd grade is fun and games. I mean, to an extent. I had no problem with the elementary schools. Middle school was where I had a problem, and high school was where I had a problem. I just want to encourage you as a middle school parent, if you're watching this, or you have kids that obviously will be going into middle school at some point, or are almost in middle school. It is extremely rewarding for me to be able to watch my kid as a 12-year-old learn all of these things, the proper things, in my presence all day, every day. I am not saying, I know there are some people that say I could not do this. I could not homeschool a middle schooler. The curriculum is too hard, or the attitudes are through the roof, or I don't know, whatever reasons. And that is okay. I am not here to try and convince you that this is what you should be doing. If you have no issues with public school, then you are in the right place. For me, though, I can tell you that I have never looked back as it relates to him missing out, as a lot of people will say, well, they're missing out on all these things. And I have said before, my kids do extracurriculars all the time, every day. They're socialized probably more than a lot of public school kids. I can tell you that. And socialized, I don't want to say properly, but this is one thing that I feel like middle school is such a kind of a bubble, if you will, of things that maybe you don't want, topics that you don't want them hearing from their friends, or topics that you don't want them talking about, or things that they might, catch on from other people in the same grade who might not have the same value system as you, who might not have the same just home life mentality as you. And it is very easy to just say, I'm just going to send my kid off and hope for the best. And at some point you do that. But I can tell you that the amount of time that I spend with my kid on a daily basis, who is in middle school. Now he has, the typical sometimes attitude, back and forth at various times, like any of my kids do. But there is so much that he gains from being at home in this environment. I think I made a video about this before on why I homeschool. Take that times 10 for middle school, because everything is just kind of magnified. All of my reasons are magnified when it comes to why I homeschool my middle schooler, and why I continue to homeschool and why I will continue to homeschool. There are a lot of people that come on and say, I am going to do it year by year. If this doesn't work next year, then I'm not going to do it. If I get to high school and it doesn't work anymore, I'm not going to do it. That is not my mentality. That is not where my train of thought is, where my thinking is directed. Unless my kid were to say, I hate this, which I've never once heard him say, ever, then we would reevaluate. I have no plans and no desire to send my kids back to public school. I just want to encourage you, like I said, as either a middle school parent, an almost middle school parent, or a parent of young kids that will eventually be in middle school, that if this is something that you are thinking, there is nothing that can replace this crucial time in your kids' lives. And being at home is just such a relief. And I don't say that selfishly, because I know my kid will learn things from other kids sometimes and pick up on things that maybe I don't want him to. But I see a huge difference. And I'm not saying if your child is in public school, that's a horrible option. I'm not saying that at all. But I can see the difference between my child as a homeschooled, almost 7th grader versus some kids in baseball, wherever, that are not. And I don't say that to look down upon anybody either. I just say that as there is a huge difference sometimes, and I am thankful that this is the path that he is on. I have mentioned before in my other video on reasons why I homeschool, a big thing is that he is involved in his siblings' lives on a daily basis. There is no disconnect between, yes, they fight. I will not pretend like they don't fight. But there is not a disconnect between my almost 7th grader and my almost 4th grader as it pertains to, I'm cooler than you, my friends are cooler than you. They bicker like siblings, obviously. Their big thing is, well, I work out more than you do. My extracurriculars are more exhausting than yours. That kind of stuff. But there is no, my friends are cooler than your friends, and I don't want you around me. There's none of that. And I feel like like I said, the crucial kind of forming years of middle school, being at home is, if you are able to do that, is a true gift. And if you are able to homeschool them, like I've said before, there are so many different curriculum options, especially as you get higher up. And as my kids get higher up in grades, I'm not going to be so, I don't want to say one-on-one with them. I'm not going to be so involved as I would be in elementary school or, preschool or whatever. Obviously, as they get older, they need to learn to kind of do things on their own. And I might not be able to sit and baby them and do all their lessons with them. But I just kind of felt, I know this video is kind of just like very random, but I felt like there's just not enough for middle school homeschooling as it relates to homeschooling, because some people just tend to forget about it. And I feel like it is very important to not forget about these older grades, because this is sometimes the harder years when it comes to, just attitudes or hormones or, discussions that you need to have with them, that you should feel thankful if you are able to do this and have this lifestyle, that you are able to do this at home and they are able to learn these things at home. So if this is something that you are on the fence about, it is easier to start the homeschooling journey prior to middle school. That is one thing that my pediatrician even said to me before I actually made that move. And that is very, very true. Because things are just a lot different. And I don't want to say he didn't know the difference in third grade, but really he didn't. It took a little bit of time for us to adjust, but I think it would have been a bigger adjustment had we waited until middle school. Now, with that being said, if you are on the fence about this and your child is already in middle school, talk with them, have discussions with them, ask them, is this something that you would be interested in? If they're having a horrible time in public school and you are all in for homeschooling, just do it. I mean, in all honesty, having your child be miserable at school or falling behind at school because, virtual learning or whatever, if you are all in and you are okay with it, you can do it. I mean, honestly, it gets easier as you go, as you get yourself into a rhythm. But I feel like somebody just kind of needed to hear that, that middle school just kind of gets forgotten about. And I hope to do more videos because I feel like there's just not enough. And when I was starting my homeschool journey, I Googled stuff, or when my kid was starting middle school, I Googled, YouTube stuff, and there's just not a whole lot. So I'd like to not only, there's a dime a dozen for preschool and elementary school, but when you get higher into those grades, it's kind of like, okay, well, what about these kids? Like, I need some guidance with this too, especially in high school as we start doing transcripts and things like that, and needing guidance and someone who has kind of been there. Like I said, I've only done this is only my second year of middle school, but I feel like I've learned quite a bit this last year as it pertains to that kind of age group. So anyway, if you have any questions regarding middle school curriculum, I will link also my 7th grade, I'll link a 6th grade if I remember, curriculum, so that if you are starting and you just don't know where to start, then you can kind of look at those videos and see if that's anything that interests you, what we use. And let me know if you have any questions or any comments or anything, and I will be happy to answer. And also, if you know of any good channels, if you are a homeschooling middle school parent and you know of any other good channels that you watch that have good content as it relates to that age range, then let me know. Okay, I will see you guys next time. Take care.